Hello, I'm Priscilla Archangel, and my faith-centered leadership lesson for you today is Get It to Give It. These days, practically all of us are working to gain more money. We have car payments, we have mortgage or rent payments, we have clothes to buy, we have credit card bills, we have trips we want to take, we have repair bills, all sorts of things that just add up constantly. And we're all working typically to get more money. Now, if someone said they would give you $1 million, what would you do with it? Probably you'd give them a long list of bills to pay off. You'd probably have a long list of things you'd then want to purchase either for yourself or your family members, and then you might have some saving goals. But it would all be basically focused on consumption in some way. So that's kind of like the probably 99.99% of us. What about the 0.001%? Let me tell you a few stories. Forbes recently profiled the 400 richest billionaires in the U.S. And as you can imagine, there were a number of people, a number of familiar names, like Bill Gates was at the top of the list with $66 billion. But the focus of the articles in Forbes magazine was not just how much money they have and how much money they're just gathering, but it was more focused on their philanthropy. It was focused on how they are using that money to change the world, to change the environment around them, and to give it to others, and to be powerhouses not only in the U.S., but all across several continents, using their money for good. Hopefully by now you've heard of the Giving Pledge, and the Giving Pledge was started several years ago by Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett, where they challenged billionaires to sign a pledge that they would give away half of their money prior to their death, or at least upon their death. At this point, in a little over 2 years, 90 billionaires have signed that pledge, committing that they are going to give away half their income at a minimum by the time of their death. And that's a fantastic thing, because they're using that, giving that money away to charity to help many people, many organizations throughout the world even. Now, as much as I admire Bill and Melinda Gates and Warren Buffett, there's one more person that you probably haven't heard of that is their role model for this, and that person is Chuck Feeney. Chuck Feeney is now about 81 years old. He founded Duty-Free Shoppers over 3 decades ago. And duty-free shoppers you're familiar with. As you cross borders, you can buy all sorts of liquors and jewelry and perfumes and all sorts of things at these duty-free shopper stores. Well, Chuck Feeney was on the Forbes list several years back, but they later found out that it was an error. He really was not a billionaire. Even though he had amassed probably about $7.5 billion over his career, he now only has about $2 million left. Why? Because he's given it all away. Earlier on in his career, when he was building his business, Chuck Feeney founded Atlantic Philanthropies, and he has consistently given his money to this charitable organization that he started for the purpose of funding initiatives all across the world on at least 5 continents. Now, he's very meticulous. He hates waste. In particular, he requires organizations who want some of that money to present a business plan, to present a proposal, how they're going to use it, what they're going to do with it. He's not just parceling it out to anyone who asks for it, but he makes them justify how they're going to use it and how they're going to create good with it. Chuck Feeney is a wonderful example of someone who gets it to give it, who gets money to give it away. I'd like to read to you a quote from another billionaire on a similar topic, and this is a quote by David Rubenstein, who's a private equity billionaire. So he said, "How much can you give to your children before you completely spoil and ruin them? Very few people who inherit gigantic sums have gone on to change the world for the better. Generally, the people who've changed the world for the better are people who made it on their own and ultimately didn't want to just distribute wealth to someone else. If you can give away as much money as you can while you're alive, you will realize the benefits that I just mentioned. You'll feel much better about yourself, and your children will feel much better about you." Again, that's from the Forbes magazine. So now it's your turn. Like me, you're probably saying, but I haven't made my first billion yet. How can I do anything like them? Well, you may not have $1 billion and think a billion representing just excess, something that you just have an abundance of. But you have something in abundance that people value. You have something in abundance that people look upon and say, isn't that remarkable? Isn't that wonderful that she or he is able to do this or have that? It may be time, it may be your talent, it may be your treasures, but you possess something in abundance, and that's what you can use to get it, to give it. You've already got it. You've already been blessed with it. You've already been given something that you are just fantastic at. So what are you going to do with that skill? What are you going to do with that time, talent, or treasure? The purpose of you having it is really to give it to others, to share it with others, to give back to others. As all of us give of what we have to one another, all of us will benefit more. All of us will feel blessed. All of us will feel more benefit from those things that we have. So I encourage you to think about what you've been blessed with in abundance and get it to give it. Thanks for listening.